Hey friends, welcome back to the YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Oleg and this is one and only Mr. Bond. On this channel, we review watches. In today's video, we're going to review this watch right here. Bulova Lunar Pilot, also known as Bulova Moon Watch. I can't tell you how many times I added this watch to my shopping cart on Amazon. I would back out for one reason or another and I would stop myself short. I don't know why, I just never bought it. Even though I wanted to take a look at one and I kind of wanted to own one for a while. Then I got myself a Speedmaster Reduced, and because the two watches are very similar, I didn't have that inclination to buy this watch anymore. Thanks to a local subscriber David, who has lent a bunch of watches to us, this is actually a third watch that he's loaning for review, we now have a chance to look at one and to review one. And oh boy, is this a great watch. So before we get started, please leave a comment in the comment section below. Thank David for lending this watch to us. Now, let's review it. Bulova Lunar Pilot. Let's begin with case dimensions. It has a diameter of 45 millimeters from this point to this point, but excluding the crown. It's 52.5 millimeters from one lug to another, from this point to this point. It has a lug opening of 20 millimeters, and it's 13.5 millimeters thick, including that protruding sapphire crystal. Here's the watch on my 7.5 inches or roughly just under 20 centimeters wrist. It's a bigger watch. It has that longer lug to lug distance. However, I believe that this blacked out version, this PVD coated version, wears better than the stainless steel colored version. I think the all black blends in really well, especially if you wear a long sleeve. So you can pull this off better than the stainless steel version. I think it wears slightly more conservative. With that being said, it is still a bigger watch and you will need a bigger wrist to pull it off. For my size of wrist, for the most part, I like the fit. I wish it was maybe slightly shorter from one lug to another. The diameter is fine with me, 45 millimeters. Yeah, it's on the bigger side, but this is a moon watch that had to be worn over a spacesuit. So there is a reason behind its size. One word of caution for you, for my 7.5 inches wrist, I wear it on the third to last hole here. So if you have a smaller wrist, you might have to make some extra holes in this strap, or you might have to put it on a different strap. As it is a tradition by now, here's the watch next to a Seiko SKX. Seiko SKX being 42 millimeters, Bulova being 45 millimeters in diameter. Clearly Bulova looks larger, but I don't think it's the diameter that makes it look larger. I think it's that lug to lug distance. Just look how much longer the case appears as comparing to Seiko's case. Now Seiko does have a short case, relatively speaking. It has a shorter lug to lug distance than a lot of other watches on the market. With all of that being said, you can really see the difference in size. So this one is meant for people with bigger wrists or people that have preferences for larger watches. I'll spend a couple of minutes talking about the history of this watch. So as the legend goes, in 1971, the Apollo Mission 15, astronaut David Scott was wearing his Omega Speedmaster and the crystal popped off. He had this Bulova watch on him. At some point he put it on to replace the Omega and he wore it to space over his spacesuit, and there are pictures to prove that. In 2015, the same watch, the watch that was worn on the moon, was sold at an auction for $1.3 million. Bulova saw an opportunity with that and quickly reissued the same watch again in 2015 in a stainless steel color, and it did really well. It did well commercially as well as critically. So in 2017, they released this blacked out version, this iron plated version. And I think this is the version to get. I would get this over the stainless steel look. Now, if you watch this channel for a while, you know that my preference is actually for the stainless steel look, but I think on this watch, the iron plating, the PVD coating, if you will, works really, really well. Every part of this case is iron coated, including sides of the case, this bezel, tops of the lugs, the pushers, the crown, even the case back. It's all iron plated. And it gives a very nice contrast between the white indices and the white writing on the dial. As I mentioned, I think it also makes the watch wear smaller. This Bulova Lunar Pilot has a flat piece of sapphire crystal. It's a very interesting design because the crystal protrudes quite a bit off of the case. Looking at it straight on, it doesn't seem to add too much height to the case. But looking at it from a side profile, it gives it a cool vintage look. Now, I know that some people might not like it, especially with this PVD coated, this matte black case, because it makes it stand out even more than the stainless steel look. I like it. I think it looks very retro. Another design detail that Bulova nailed are these chrono pushers. The one at the 2 o'clock position is the one to start the chronograph. The one at the 4 o'clock position, that's the one to reset the chronograph. And they look so cool. The way they come out of the case. And they're also very satisfying to press. It just feels good. And there's a nice satisfying click. I think they nailed this part. We also see a signed crown at the 3 o'clock position. It's signed with the Bulova logo. It's a simple push-pull style crown. The watch only has 50 meters of water resistance. The case back is a screw-down case back. I like that it's lined up perfectly in the center, Bulova logo in the middle, and then some writing about that Apollo 15 mission from 1971. Might as well talk about this strap that comes with the watch. It's a NATO strap that's a hybrid between a 2-piece NATO and a 1-piece NATO. So as you can see, you attach this part of the NATO separately, and then this part of the NATO splits into two. The advantage of a NATO strap like this is the fact that it actually doesn't create 2 layers of thickness. Usually in a regular NATO strap you would have 2 layers underneath the case, which would add some thickness to the case. In this way, it has only 1 layer of thickness. That's a good idea. It's a good quality strap with matching matte black hardware. Overall, it looks really good and it gets the job done. There are 3 major differences between this all black version and the stainless steel version. One of the differences is very obvious. Obviously the finishing and the color of the case, this one being iron plated, the other being stainless steel. The other 2 differences are a little bit more subtle. First of all, this one doesn't have a date window, which I'm really happy about. I think that date window throws the symmetry off. The second difference is even more subtle. This Bulova has the old school Bulova logo. Really cool attention to detail. I'm glad they did that. It just makes this watch slightly more special. Speaking of the design, I really like the design of this watch. First of all, this tachymeter bezel, it's actually under the crystal, which is different. Omega Speedmaster, of course, has their tachymeter bezel outside of the crystal. And then you have the step dial. So as you can see, the outer minute running track is actually on a layer below the hours track. It gives very nice depth to this dial. The subdials for the chronograph are also slightly recessed, so they're actually on the same level as the minute running track, just slightly recessed below the main dial. They're finished with these concentric circles and they have slight sunburst. Gives it a nice contrast to otherwise very monotoned dial. All applied indices for hour marks. The rectangles look good and they make the watch very legible. In fact, this is one of the most legible watches I have ever seen. Very easy to tell what time it is at a first glance. I guess that's the point. It is also loomed, so the hour marks as well as the set of hands are loomed. Here's a loom shot for you. It's pretty good. It's not outstanding, but again, this is not a diver watch. I think for what it is, the loom is great. The original Bulova Moonwatch from 1971 was powered by a mechanical chronograph movement, Valjoux 72 to be exact. This watch is powered by the quartz chronograph movement. Nothing wrong with that. This is not one of your Mickey Mouse, McDonald's Happy Meal type chronograph movements. This movement is called 262 kHz caliber chronograph movement, and it's accurate to plus or minus 10 seconds a year. It's a very accurate movement. On top of the movement's accuracy, you also get a chronograph function to 1/10 of a second. Let me demonstrate what that looks like as we start the chronograph and then we stop it. It went 3 seconds, 0.8. So 3.8 seconds. And you can see that from the subdial at the 3 o'clock position. As I resume chronograph function, you can see this hand here is going crazy. Now to save battery power, that stops after I believe 30 seconds. At this point it still keeps track of 1/10 of a second, however it does it in a background, thus saving battery. As you can see, if I pause, that 1/10 of a second is still being tracked. Really cool. The subdial by the 6 o'clock position, that's the subdial for the seconds hand for the main timekeeping, and the subdial by the 9 o'clock position, that's the minutes counter for the chronograph, and it goes up to 60 minutes. That's the review of Bulova Moon Watch. I get it now. I get why so many people love this timepiece, why it's so popular. First of all, let's talk about the pricing. So this blacked out version costs $595 US. However, as of recording of this video, it's currently on sale on Amazon.com. You can pick one up for $450. At that price, I actually think it's a pretty good deal. Sure, it's not a mechanical chronograph, it doesn't have the automatic movement, it's a quartz movement, but as I said, it's not a Mickey Mouse quartz movement. It's ultra accurate quartz movement, and something that I didn't mention earlier, that the seconds hand on this watch, the way it beats 2 ticks per second, so it has a smoother appearance. It doesn't tick one at a time, it's not so jagged, it sweeps a little bit smoother than that. So that's a nice touch. On top of that, it has a sapphire crystal, and of course, all that history on top of being from a reputable brand like Bulova. I don't necessarily regret not buying one, and actually I'm glad that I didn't buy one, because my instinct wouldn't be to go for this blacked out version. But after spending some time with it, I think this is the version to go for. Just my personal opinion. I appreciate you watching this video until the end. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed this review, subscribe to the YouTube channel, we release new videos every week, and leave a comment in a comment section below. Let me know what you think about this Bulova Moon Watch. Is it too big? Is it for you? Do you have any experience with it? Leave all those thoughts below. I always enjoy reading them. By the way, today on my wrist, I'm wearing my square face G-Shock. I did a full review of this watch. That video can be found on the YouTube channel. I will also leave it linked in the description below. Also in the description below, there are 2 other links. The first link is a secret link. Have a look if you're curious. The second link is a link to bondnativestraps.com if you're looking for a great quality native strap and want to support this YouTube channel at the same time. Buying one of these native straps is a great way to do so. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're staying safe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Good boy. No. You're sneaky. You want to go straight to the source. Wait. Are you even chewing them? Just swallowing them whole.